Um, and I'm now handing over to either Yvonne or Helma, depending which one of you chooses to read next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Megan. And thank you for the whole wheelbarrow team, Ed and Jacques and Megan, who's hosting us tonight, and for all the voluntary work that you are doing. I just wanted to say, yeah, Helma and I thought it was in the last McGregor Poetry Festival, I co-won the English part in the open mic and Helma the Afrikaans part. And we thought it was so nice to put the focus a little bit on Kleinmond because we're on the other side of the mountain. We don't get to your face-to-face meetings. We just thought it was really nice to put it a bit on the map. Sarah knows it well and spends a lot of time there too. And Frank, who's online as well, also from Kleinmond. So thank you and welcome everybody. Yes, a little bit about the form that I'm reading from tonight, the haibun, which you pronounced correctly. Megan, is a Japanese literary form, and it's prose and then interspersed with haiku. And I really like haiku, but because this was trying to capture the voices in different contexts of others, which really what this evening is about for me, or this writing, this collection was about for me, was about honoring other voices. And I really want to say that without those voices, this wouldn't have been here. So I'm just wanting to express my gratitude to that as well. It's the voices of many. Because of the nature of the work, which is mainly in mental health and peace building, there's a lot of trigger warning around the work that I read as well. So please know that. Although the work wasn't driven by despair, it is by the hope and resilience and the courage that I witnessed, but the context can be quite hectic. I'll start the reading with a small haiku about the collection. And when I read the haiku, and also when I read the pieces with the prose in it, I will actually repeat the haiku in the reading. The shape of hope is wrapped in layers, asking to see the light. The shape of hope is wrapped in layers, asking to see the light. Because I realized that this work was about witnessing, I wondered why I sought out this kind of work myself, what formed me as a child. So my collection is in three pieces. The one is about myself as a child and what I experienced. The next one is about mental health institutions and other institutions, which I won't read from tonight, the second part. And the third part is about some examples of other places that I've done the work. The first piece is called Walls Have Ears. My father and mother, my aunt and uncle talk about the Second World War when they think we are asleep. I'm 10 and can hear everything from the room next door, even with a pillow over my head. Even though I press my fingers into my ears and sing la 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 la, I see what they talk about. I hear the bombs and pull my legs under my chin. I cry and my snotty nose stops my breath. Throw off the pillow, push my bed away from the wall and slide down the small space onto the floor. Fingers back in my ears, la 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 la, but not so loud that they can hear. The wind howls, blows sand in the house, the cat hides. The wind howls, blows sand in the house, the cat hides. The executed men haunt me. I'm a thief, they write on the windows of the bakery. A loaf of bread was stolen for crying children at home. Everyone living on the street is gathered to see what happens if you steal. My 10-year-old mother is one of them. The men stand with their backs to the people and get shot through the head. Then the crowd is marched, single filed across past the bodies. No la 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 for her, no pillow or hiding space. Her dog gets eaten. No la 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 for her, no pillow or hiding space. Her dog gets eaten. Later on, my mother said as a truth, everyone experiences a war in their lifetime. The idea made me anxious, even as a child. What, when, where will it happen? How can I prepare for that? What do I watch out for? With politics hidden from us to keep us safe, I had no idea that we were already living in a war. Apartheid's veil lifts, whispers rustle through the leaves. Truth and choice take root. Apartheid's veil lifts, whispers rustle through the leaves. Truth and choice take root. And it's also about how I was made aware not only of injustices around us, but also of how to respond to that. And Anne-Marie, because you like this particular piece about my mother, I'm including it. It's called Don't Accept Injustice. In primary school, I was obedient. One sunny morning when I was leaving for school, I told my mother I had to take my sandals with me. We had to wear them while walking to the pool, which was quite far away. I was excited as my brightly colored sandals were new and I was eager to show them off. My mother was dismissive. It's a stupid rule, she said. Children are likely to lose their shoes. She told me to choose. I could go to school with either my school shoes or my sandals. I chose the rainbow-colored sandals. As always, on a Monday morning, we started with General Assembly. As soon as we returned to class, our teacher asked everyone with sandals to come and stand in front of us. In front of the class, she was angry and my heart thumped. There were 3 of us. She told us we had disgraced the school and would have to go to the headmaster's office. He would write our names in a big black book where they would remain for the rest of our lives. She said that even when we were adults and applied for work, our names would be found in the black book and we would never get employed. He was also likely to give us 6 of the best, which meant beaten with a cane. After that, she told us to walk straight to the principal's office. Children staring, walking slowly, a long, cold passage. My legs were shaking as we walked with dragging feet to the office. Thoughts were racing through my mind. It was the first time I'd ever been punished at school. My mother had told me to accept punishment if it was just and fair. If not, I did not have to accept it. I burst into a sprint and ran straight home. After telling my mother, she took me straight back to school. She marched into the office of the principal and entered without knocking. She told the surprise principal her name was Maria Yvonne Sliep. She bent her body, letting her hands hang over her head. The look on the principal's is one I will never forget. He got up and asked her what she was doing. She said she had come to get the punishment with a cane and he could write her name in the big black book, as she's the one that told me to wear sandals. He told her to sit down and close the door. I'm not sure what happened, but when she came out, I had to return to class. Fastened on the desk, a metal pencil sharpener, no words written. I then continued to read from an experience in Al-Fat, a small village in Sudan. And this is part of the work that I was doing. Sudan, an ancient civilization in northeast Africa, bears the scars and insights of many wars and peace agreements, events that have torn and woven the fabric of the nation. Al-Fat is a settlement in the desert, a few hours from Omdurman. In Arabic, Al-Fat means conqueror of adversity and speaks to Sudan's historical, spiritual, and cultural narrative. We learn there are few men in Al-Fat. Sorry. That was coming through. They left for war or for women who offer better perspectives. The women talked in hushed tones with bent heads. The children are bullied at school. People gather under canopies of cloth held aloft by poles, offering a patch of shade in the scorching dunes. A sea of patterned bodies sways before us, with dust in their mouths, lamenting in hues of the Nile. Stories of hardship are hung in the sun. There are no husbands or fathers. The absent men sow shame and despair. Sons apologize for their poor role models. Sons who stand tall and share what kind of fathers they will be one day, which is different from the fathers they know. Daughters raise their chins, tell us they ignore the pointing fingers when they walk to the market or while fetching water. Daughters who sing praise to their mothers. Mothers straighten their backs, wipe their tears, and fold their arms over their hearts. Standing hand in hand, a drum beating in the sun, the sound of hope. Standing hand in hand, a drum beating in the sun, the sound of hope. Here in Al-Fat, they say, we suffer and survive. Here in Al-Fat, we remember our past. Here in Al-Fat, we join hands, mothers, daughters, and sons. Remember us here in Al-Fat. Remember us. Remember. Children play touches under tents in the desert. The wind blows gently. Arua, northern Uganda. This especially has a trigger warning. In north of Uganda, refugees have gathered for many years, some for decades. So many stories of loss and despair. Different actors, government, NGOs, local authorities, police and emergency service work in uncoordinated ways, leaving more questions than answers. Sometimes they create a bigger crisis. Currently, there's a suicide epidemic in northern Uganda. What do you do when your children cry and beg for food? What if you have nowhere to call home, and where do you stay? And where you stay is not safe. What do you do with memories of blood on your hands? Memories of your daughter having to open her legs for a gang of men. Your child died in childbirth, the child of a soldier. You are not a soldier. The child of shame cannot carry your name. What if death is the only way to stop screaming voices in your head, even though it means you'll end up in hell? In this place, suicide is a crime. If you fail, you will go to jail. If you are successful, people in your village will be asked to flog your body. These are the orders of the office of the Prime Minister, in case anyone gets ideas in their head. Sitting under a tree, straight legs wrapped in rags, a twig snaps. After too many stories I need release. I take to the woods, I too want to flee. My eyelids droop, my feet drag behind. My face is damp and so is my back. The sun sets while the moon rises full. A large colony of bats swoop by and land. The trees twitter and vibrate. A musty smell stems from the ground. I fill my lungs with burnt oranges. My eyes glow while I root in the ground. Echolocation. A cloud of wet shadows. The sky descends. Echolocation. A cloud of wet shadows. The sky descends. If these people can, then I must. I raise my head and walk home in the dusk. Feel the breeze brush my hair. Women sway past with wood on their heads. I get offered a bicycle lift. Legs thrown over the side, I hold onto his flapping shirt. The heat of the day evaporates. We stop at my luxury lodge. The guilt in my chest is large. African termites attracted to the light suddenly take flight. African termites attracted to the light suddenly take flight. Bujumbura, Burundi. This also comes with a trigger warning. She reeks of urine from a festering fistula. She's been raped many times by keepers of the peace. They left her with HIV and a baby who was not given a name. Her husband took her out and took her other children away. She was no longer allowed to gather food from the garden. According to her community, she was to blame. What she felt was not anger but shame. Everyone gathered to find a solution about communities falling apart. Outsiders said the war was no longer about arms and enemies. It was about how people could turn on each other. The woman nodded. The men waited to hear more. The children played in the sand. Beside me, a woman sat with a grown baby suckling on her dry breast. As the child turns to look at me, he pulls the long, thin breast with him. She was listening intently. The translator told me the people want to discuss. The men come together, and after a while they announce they have reached a verdict. The woman could be forgiven if she apologized. Flies buzzing, an open wound, flapping hands. Apologize for what? I asked. For shaming her husband, they said. Now who's winning? I asked. The translation of my question was more than a paragraph. I requested that they discuss again. More long translation. This time the woman joined in the discussion. Animated. I turned to the baby and touched his foot. He drew it away from my hand, spat out the breast and met my eyes. I tried to touch his foot again. This time he let me. I drank some water. He watched every move I made, held out his hand. The mother looked at me, I gave him my closed bottle, wrapped my shawl around my shoulders. He offered the bottle back and wanted me to open it for him. I looked at her for approval. She smiled. There's another proposal from the people. She could return home, they say. Someone will go with her to the clinic because she's too weak to walk alone. Tonight she will sleep with her children. Shade from the tree, a cloud shifting by, two boys on a bicycle road. Shade from the tree, a cloud shifting by, two boys on a bicycle. I'm checking in for time. Can I read another one about this length, or should we go to Helma? I can read. Okay. This is called Willemstad in Curaçao. Curaçao is in the Caribbean. In a prison. After elaborate protocol and safety checks, we enter the prison walls. Inside the hall, in a circle, about 25 men in orange overalls. They stare at me. One lets out a wolf whistle and the others laugh out loud. A captive audience for this workshop on working towards a future. We do an exercise on hope and fears. Everyone gets given a balloon on which to write one word. Some cannot write. Some draw a symbol. One copies the tattoo on his arm. They blow up the balloons, big muscles, dreadlocks and a pink balloon. He becomes the laughing stock of the group. Some are in for murder. Everyone belongs to a gang. That is the way of the island here in the Caribbean. We do a round of fears. The voices become more serious. A few share how likely it is they will die young because of gang violence. One on the left of me waits before he speaks. I'm not afraid of dying, he says. What I'm afraid of is what will happen after death. Will I burn in hell for eternity because of everything I've done? High ceilings, fans churning dead air. A chair scrapes. We are taken into another location with extra guards. For today we are going to make macrame dolls known as popchies. There's rope material and even scissors. Many laugh at the thought of it. The rope must be cut a certain length. The ropes get tied and pulled together. It requires muscle and skill. This speaks to them. Now they must imagine someone who has truly seen them, seen deep inside, someone who has loved and accepted them. It does not matter how old they are. The person is given a voice and they write them a letter. The letter is written. A few need help. Now the letter is folded many times and put inside the doll or the creature they are making. More macrame knots as the letter is covered and woven away. There's concentration, they help each other. One is chosen to make an octopus with 8 legs. These are now covered with material. Some sew, some cut, some fold. The feeling in the room has softened. Quiet concentration. Calloused fingers, nails bitten to the flesh. The light flickers. Calloused fingers, nails bitten to the flesh. The light flickers. A group photo holding a creation is taken for prison records. There is visible pride, a remarkable collection of color and creativity. Now time to clear. Count the scissors, fold the material, pack the needle and thread, roll the leftover rope. What they made cannot be taken into the cells. It's against the rules. They begin to argue. They feel seen again and want to hold on to that feeling. There is one who is from an aunt, she no longer lives. One from a mother who has never stopped believing in him. We meet with authorities and request for an exception to be made. We wait. It gets taken higher up. Lunch time comes and goes, but the group stays together, refuse to return to their cells. And then the word comes. An exception has been made, but if anyone breaks the rules, it will be taken away. Cries of jubilation as they bustle through the door. I get hugged, which is also against the rules. The guard turns a blind eye. Outside on the stoop, fallen cashew nut apples, red liquid seeds. Outside on the stoop, fallen cashew nut apples, red liquid seeds. I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Thank you so
Helma?
much, Yvonne.
Okay.
Over to Helma.
Yes, can you hear me now? Yes. Hi, everybody, and thank you for having me. And yeah, Yvonne, sure, that's hard to follow. And by the way, I have got a surname now. My surname is Milan. I waited long enough for the surname. And as you know, it's the last full moon of the year, and on the 4th of December, the number for stability and order. So that's what we do. I don't write very long poems. I love to play with words, with sounds. And of course, it's Afrikaans. The first one is called Vlerke. En hierdie een is my favorite gedig en dit klink so. Die plan is om met uitgestrekte arms buitsbeen te staan, in die rondte te draai en te besef. Die onsigbare sirkel rondom jou is jou persoonlike ruimte waarvoor jy alleen verantwoordelik is. Jy kan nie die hele universele plan verander nie. Wees jou eie beskermengel, jou eie geluksbron. Ek was altyd baie dapper totdat ek ontdek het kokkerotte met vlerke en kan vlieg. Want goeders met vlerke is dinge wat kan vlieg, en dinge met vlerke is goeders wat kan vlieg, en dinge wat kan vlieg is goeders met vlerke, en goeders wat kan vlieg is dinge met vlerke. Voëls en vliee, vlinders en veetjies, naaldekokers, nimfe, motte, muggies, muskiete, skoenlappers en springkane, kakkerlakke en kokkerotte, baie en brommers, vlermuise en vleiende visse. Want dinge wat kan vlieg is goeders met vlerke, en goeders wat kan vlieg is dinge met vlerke, en goeders met vlerke is dinge wat kan vlieg, en dinge met vlerke is goeders wat kan vlieg. Hoog bo in die nag en vry val weer terug. Die volgende een, dit is die een waar ek die toekenning gekry het by McGregor coaching, is die lewe. Die lewe hoor nie, is doof. Stop doof, droog. Ek soebat en pleit, en die lewe loop met onsigbare voetjies oor my lyf. My hele lyf. Kriewel en krap, krul en krioel en kruip en kronk en kraak en kraai. Ek huil en ek kerm. Die lewe dans met tonige punt oor my lyf. My hele lyf. Klim en klauter, klop en kletter, klik en klater, klok en klap. Ek roep en skree. Die lewe hardloop gespykerskoen oor my lyf. My hele lyf. Knibbel en knyp en knaag en knak en knorre en knip en knou en kneus. Ek dreig en daag uit, maar die lewe bly doof. Stokdoof. Droog. Dis die gister geraas en gerommel wat oor donder en doof maak. Die verlede na die hede se oorkom bars. Die volgende een, dit is maar net wat dit sê oor die lewe. En 'n bietjie speel en sy naam is Moeg gespeel. Moeg van hurk sit en kinderkringetjies krap in sandgaatjies. Tok tokkie kom uit, tok tokkertjie, tok tok. Nie meer optrek knie, groot oog tyd kyk en wag vir die klokslag. Wolf, laat is dit? Laat wolf, kwaad wolf, laatste. Geen punttone staan lekrek om beter te sien. Trippe, trappe, trone, trip, trap, trippe, trap. Wil nie stil, geduldig en kriweloos beerd afwag nie. Al jander, so deur die bos, al jander, al. Moeg van hande gevou, kruisbeen sit en gehoorsaam wees. Kapoete, kapat. Kapot. Onbetaamlik waarmee maak. Skaterlag en deur 'n strooitjie slurp. 1, 2, 3, dok myself. Die volgende een gaan is spore. So ons almal weer die lewe wat. Net weer die woordspeling. Voete laat spore. Versigtig hoe jy trap. Waar jy jou voete neersit. Jou voete laat jou spore, jou eie lyf sien. Iets van jou as spore. Sandspore, stofspore, modderspore, kleispore, spikkelspore, sleepspore, jyspore. Soms moet jy terugstap op jou spore. Die dwaalspore volg om weer jou pad te vind. Skoenspore, stewelspore, tekkiespore, kaalvoetspore, linkervoete, regtervoete, stapspore. Soms volg ander jou spore. Jou voet is 'n spore, hulle stap in jou spore om te kyk waar jy gaan. Diep spore, baie spore, dowwe spore, smal spore, skewe spore, mak spore, trapspore. Of jy dans, spring, hardloop, huppel, mars, drempel, hoog trap, laag trap. Spore gaan jy trap. Voetstappe, toestappe, hinkeplanke, trippeltrappe, maak spore, voetspore. Versigtig hoe jy jou spore trap, waar jy jou voete neersit. Versigtig waar jy spore los, hoe jy spore los. Trap sag op die lyf van ons aarde. Trap sag in die hart van ons aarde. Onlangs het iemand gesê, of ek nie vir kinders moet skryf nie, en nee, sal nie vir kinders skryf nie, I think I'll just scare them. So I'm not going to write for children. Hier's 'n bietjie van 'n persoonlike oorlog. Skop, skree, klip gooi, tot agter die sperlyn. Dans woes, wild in die spergebied. Trap landmynwoorde af, sodat dit al rondom ontplof. Liegtery, pretensie, skynheiligheid, valsheid, agterbaksheid. Plof 'n konsternasie los. Skerwe moet spat, verspat, raakspat. Mense moet hoor, voel, weet. Moenie jou plofwoorde in binnekringe kom plant nie. Oorlog is oorlog. Ernstige oorlog teen rugstekers, liegtekke, verraaiers, skynheiliges, misbruikers. Jou plofpersoonlikheid gaan jou laat landmyne afstap en jou sperdatums mis en jou spertyd verloor. Oorlog is oorlog. Dit was so 'n bietjie van 'n persoonlike. Daar's mos altyd iewers ergens in 'n mens se lewe wanneer mense jou, ek sal nie sê te nakom nie, maar tog wat jy dink, sjoe, dit was 'n bietjie ongevra. My gedigte raak ook so, ek gaan dit kort hou. Kom ons doen gou hoeke. Ek het groot geword in die, baie streng groot geword in die Engelse kerk. So ons het altyd Halleluja's liedjies gesing, daai tyd. So, wie van julle wat miskien weet, is jy en jou klein boekie was een van die goed wat ons gesing het altyd. Wie het nou wat uit watter hoek gesê? Uit watter hoek het wie nou wat gesê? Wat en uit watter hoek het wie nou iets gesê? Bou jy maar 'n tronk in jou eie hoek, maar moenie uit daai hoek skree nie. Fluister jou hoekige hoekoms en verdwyn in jou hoek, jou skreeuhoek, tronkhoek, wegkruiphoek, fluisterhoek, stilhoek. In watter hoek gaan jy die antwoorde kry? Van hoek tot hoek, heen en weer en op en af en in en uit om elke hoek en draai. Binnehoek, buitehoek, skerphoek, stomphoek, driehoek, reghoek. Wanneer jy jouself in 'n hoek vaspraat en die samelewing jou hoekhou slaan, bou jou hoeksteen teen 'n stewige hoekpaal. Terwyl jy in jou eie hoek wegkruip, saambond in een hoek, loop die lewe terug in 'n sirkel en tot begin. Waar jy begin, sal jy eindig. En waar jy eindig, sal jy weer begin. Die lewe het nie hoeke nie. Die lewe is rond. Of sommer net plat. Nêrens om weg te kruip nie. Net oorhoeks blootgestel aan al die pynlike hoekskoppe. En dan die tweede laaste ene is as ek wil. Nie meer saam met kerksusters kuier, met tannies tee drink, of wyn saam met manne nie. Nie meer boom klim, een beentjie spring, resies hardloop nie. Net myself wees. Een kant staan, kyk, luister, leer. Net as ek wil. Net as ek wil. Ek het nog nooit 'n boek gepubliseer nie. Ek het altyd gesê ek gaan nooit publiseer nie. Intussen het ek 'n bietjie gedink en ek het besluit sou ek ooit my lewe bymekaar kry, my goed bymekaar kry, sou ek my eystervat veer noem. So, a porcupine has got feathers. So, that's the confusion. Dis die hele verwarring. Ek dink die grootste gedeelte van my lewe was verwarring. The whole thing of confusion. So, if I get everything together, all the confusion, dan sal ek my boek eystervat veer. Want, you know what, maybe in a new world, in the next world, in an old, maybe there is a porcupine waiting to build feathers. They've got the quills already, and they can spray out the quills like peacock's feathers. So why not give them feathers? Maybe just maybe there's a porcupine that wants to fly, but this one isn't flying. Die gedig se naam is Eystervatveer. Vang vir my 'n eystervat om te vertroetel as jy ver. En ek alleen en diep emosionele waardes. Wit en swart en wit en pyn op pyn en krap aan die eystervat seer. My hart sal om alleen doodbloei omdat jy weg is. Ek wou nog met jou praat, maar my lyf was te stom oor die eystervatveer. Die wilde verwarring. Baie dankie. Dit is waar ek eindig.
Thank you so much to Helma and to Yvonne for those lovely readings. There were lots of trigger warnings with Yvonne and very justified. There were some real shockers there. And Helma's words were maybe a little bit gentler and had a different feeling. So thank you very much for sharing those with us. Are there people who would like to ask questions of the poets? Please put up your hand if there are. Ed.
Francis has got a hand up, yeah.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Francis, I don't know who was first, but Francis, you're welcome to go ahead. Francis, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, that must be a mistake. I didn't put hands on.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Then over to Ed. Can you unmute yourself, Ed?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll try with the questions, but maybe just observations and comments to start. Yvonne, I found I'm curious now about the middle section that you left out, that you didn't read any poems from. And definitely the pieces with the trigger warning were harrowing to hear and very powerful, also because of your style of writing, very short and sentences. And I think the thing that I wondered about was perhaps the relationship between the sort of paragraph pieces and the haiku, or the haiku that it seemed sometimes like they were just close-ups of I didn't know sometimes how else to think of them, but it was interesting having that conversation between the longer pieces and the shorter pieces. And Helma, my Afrikaans is terrible, but I did pick up on the musicality and the sort of alliteration and those sorts of things, and I found it felt to me like the poems always have a very clear position, almost like a very just a very clear, strong position, and then you've got quite a lot of playfulness with the form, So I found that interesting. I don't know if you want to say more about that, but those are my questions, I guess. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your readings.
Thanks. I just want to say it starts with the idea, and then the playfulness with the different words. I don't just grab any of words. I sort of like make a study of what goes together, what sounds, and it's actually it's actually very serious, but in the end, it's also fun. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, it well observed about the middle section that I left out. It really was a time issue, and they are also quite harrowing things that I witnessed in the 80s in these mental health institutions, and they're different ones that I write about. And also informed me quite a bit in how I write and what happened afterwards. In terms of the relationship between the haiku and the context, it's like the haiku captures a feeling or a realization or a shift that I see happening in that moment that is captured within a few short sentences. But so it's like the prose gives a wider lens, and the haiku give a macro view of the situation at that moment. So I'm not sure how they all come across, but they were particular feelings that I was left with. Like the last haiku that I read about the, and I'll just use it as an example because I know it doesn't always come across clearly, but for me it has meaning. Outside on the stoop, fallen cashew nut apples, red liquid seeps. So one standing outside the prison and letting what happened inside sort of flow over me. And there are these beautiful fallen cashew nut apples that are so unique to see and that you don't really see anywhere, but because of the walls that are around, they somehow are there. But they've been trodden on by feet. And there's this red liquid that seeps out of these beautiful fallen cashew nut apples. And the way I saw the prisoners, where their own personalities, where through the letters they wrote to their loved ones, become so visible as people, and how they were loved by the other and now trodden on as part of the system, and what is going to happen next. So for me, there's a lot that happens in the haiku, but it's in addition to what the prose speaks about.
Yes, it's almost like the haiku are like magnetic filings, and they carry a charge because of the context.
Yes.
Something like that. They're suggestive. They're more open-ended, but they're definitely suggestive. And yeah, both your readings felt also like discoveries or self-discovery, journeys of self-discovery, and courageous. Anyway, so thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question or comment? Wendy, go ahead. You can unmute.
Yeah. Yvonne, I'm very interested in, trigger warnings for us, but harrowing for you. And my question is, to what extent you needed to write these poems, and to what extent they helped you deal with experiences?
I think that for me, what was really happening in these contexts wasn't always, of course, the work happens and they formal reports and they go out to people. And I kind of felt that what it was about wasn't really coming out of that. And I wanted to share the inside view. I think that at the time, I do a whole lot of other things to process, like walking into the forest with the bats coming down and descending and staying connected in nature, or swim where I can, or do breathing, do different kind of things. I may make notes and writing to myself, but I think that just in this chapter in my life, in looking back, I was both grateful for what I experienced, but also felt this need to have it become more visible. So it certainly did something for me to write. And I must say that while writing, so much memory came back that I didn't think I had about the context. And you write around one detail and more detail becomes available, and you smell and feel and hear things again. So it has had a good effect on me to write. In preparing this reading, I thought it was finished, and it's actually already being looked at by publishers, but I decided to halt it and to maybe intersperse more haiku in it, because I saw in the reading that in selecting the readings that some of that needs to happen a bit more. But it would be interesting for me to know, to you as a listener, whether the haiku added to what you were hearing.
Very much so. I
Okay.
mean, and you know, I mean, I know this kind of what Ed was asking as well, but there's the context and the narrative and the setting, and then there's the cutting,
Yeah.
you know, which is what haiku does, and
Yeah.
what you do with the haiku so beautifully. It really it kind of ends it off. It brings it together. Yeah, no, definitely the haiku are lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it needs a bit more than what it already has. Some pieces, I saw that especially with pieces I left out as well. So yeah, thank you for that observation, both of you.
Helma, can I ask you about something? So as a writer, I sometimes feel that what I am aware of or pleased about or feeling is developing in my writing is something that maybe other people are not aware of. So not that they're missing the point, but that there's a point that is special for me in perhaps the change that I've made in my writing. And I'm just interested in how you're feeling about how you are writing now, maybe compared to how you were writing or how you are thinking about your writing in the future. It would just be interesting to hear about the kind of interior experience of how you're feeling about your writing at the moment, if you can.
Yeah, it's actually a very difficult question because I don't know. I, it's like it's inside me, and I write it out. And you know what? Sometimes I think, not that I don't care, but I don't actually. If people don't understand it, then it's for them not to understand it, because I know what I'm saying, what's inside and what I'm putting out. But I know that there's a lot of work to be done. I write sort of like all these words, and it's like frivolous, and I have also got a lot of serious poems. But every time I write, I think, but there's rules. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I think of what I read, because I read a lot of poetry. But then then I just want to stop writing, because for me it's just I want to write what I want to write and put it out there. But I know if I want to go forward with this, I'll have to make changes, or maybe not. Maybe I can just go on. It doesn't matter, maybe, because I'm enjoying it and I want to write. But yeah, according to what's out there, I think my writing is different. But yeah, I just enjoy it. And as I said, it's a difficult question to answer because I actually don't know where I'm going. Thanks, Ruby.
And one of your poems, if I remember correctly, was as ek wil, was a phrase that you used. So maybe that's, am I right?
Yeah. I don't want to do this anymore. I can do whatever I want to do. It's a sort of like a what is an opstand now in English? You know, it's who I am. It's where I come from through my life. The confusion, the chaos, things that happen. I know it's private. But that's the way I write it, and I've written other poems that tell you a lot about what happened to me. But it's actually yeah. I just write it, and if people my daughter wants some of my poems. My daughter doesn't want to read. She doesn't want to know about it. So, yeah. But anyhow, thanks. Yeah, it's everything's personal, even if people don't see it like that.
Interesting. Frank, you've got your hand up again. I'm not sure whether that's intentionally this time.
That's not. You're confusing me with someone else. I'm Frank. That was someone else who had a hand up earlier.
Okay, I'll just take your hand down then.
No, I do have a question to ask.
Oh, okay.
All
right,
but
great.
this time it's me.
Okay, super.
Go
ahead.
Helma, yeah, I was interested in your answer now and how you were responding about your work and how it matters less, whether the hearer or reader is getting it because you want to put something out, because at the same time I have this appreciation of your work also in the performance space, because I've seen you performing in Kleinmond, and I've seen also the dynamic that happens between yourself and listeners. And obviously I do admire that, because these are things I struggle with, that performance space. And I just wanted to ask a little bit there about what is that dynamic that develops, what is that feedback you get when you are presenting, and what does it mean to you? And then for Yvonne, I've got a question. There, I was initially going to ask you, what are you going to do with what you've written and what you presented? Are you going to do something with it? Are you putting something together? But you did answer that already. So instead, I'll ask you, when people prepare a joint presentation, do you, because where I have presented on Red Wheelbarrow, and I've always presented just on my own, but when people present as a pair, do they sit down, do they talk together, and they say, wat kan jy voorlees, wat kan ek voorlees, how are we going to make it rhyme, are there some common themes? And so how did you two approach doing this together?
Do you want to go first, Helma?
Okay, about what my question now, Frank. Thanks for asking. What it means to me is, what I forgot to tell you is that most of my poems I write it for out loud reading, or not reciting but reading out loud. And if you see it on paper, it's different from the way I read it, because I add words or I leave words out. But it means a lot to me The moment I've written the poem, the moment I read it out loud, and in and especially when I've got an audience, maybe then I know, yes, that's what it has to sound like this. And that's what I want to say. So in the end, it's not complicated actually, but it's just I just do it, and then I know it's the right thing to say. It's the right way to write it. Maybe not literally correct or whatever I want, but that's just what I do, and I know. Thanks, Frank. Did I answer your question, Frank?
Yeah, in large part, maybe just adding on what energy do you feel in that performance space?
That's a personal question, you know.
You unmute.
Yeah, you know, Frank. You should know if you see someone and you learn to you're like but you don't actually know who I am. So in the performance space, I've got the courage and the whatever to do it, but there's other stages and other platforms that I won't step forward and do anything. That's why I feel when I write it, I give myself the strength, and then I'm brave to put it out there in that space. And the important thing for me is I believe what I write. I believe in what I write. The words. I believe the words. I know the words. I found the words. I didn't just grab it and put it together. So yeah, the performance space. It's a wow. It's a yeah. It gives me courage.
So thank you, Helma. And yeah, I've also witnessed that many times, and it's really good to see. Your first question is actually relevant, Frank, because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was writing it and it started taking some shape. I didn't have this particular shape in mind. I was just writing pieces, and then I realized that there was some kind of chronological order in it, and I was doing it as a bigger writing project. And the person that mentored that and finally edited it encouraged me to publish it, as did a few critical readers. And I felt very hesitant to share any of it once it was out. I felt very unsure about if it would mean anything to anyone. But the way in which it was encouraged, I thought I will go then that route. And whether it gets published by a publisher like it is being reviewed at the moment, or whether I do it in another route and just for a small group, I'm not sure yet. So, but it wasn't the intention that I sat out writing thinking I'm going to publish. It just kind of happened after I did it. And then how did we decide? I think that, all of this is a little bit on the margin. So that of this platform we have now. So haibun isn't something that gets done often. Afrikaans isn't something that gets done often. Kleinmond for us, with a few like from you being present. And what we were both doing was so different. We didn't have to try and make it fit with each other. We have read in the same. Well, I usually read poetry in the space where we are together, not this form. But we really respected each other's voices in that. It was a decision of that we each knew how long we had to read, and for us it feels quite familiar, I think. So it wasn't complicated to work out. And it was just encouraging to get the support from the platform to do it this way as well.
Sure. I think that's such an interesting Yeah, an interesting reflection on how one works together with another poet. I think it worked particularly well in the way that it came together. And yeah, I just really want to end by saying thank you again for sharing your work, both of you, Helma and Yvonne. And yeah, if we can, thank you very much. And
you.
we're going to have a short break of a few minutes, and then we'll come back with an open mic session. So please, if you can stay, it would be lovely if you could stay. See you then.
Thank you.